The descent, the absence, and the restoration of order. One does not arrive in the kingdom of Cooter, one descends into it. This theological experiment, conducted in the medium of poultry and pine straw, sits in the westernmost reaches of Egypt Township, a place defined by the Sulk and the Wachita River to the west and the civilized world to the east. Our land suffers from the condition known as Southern Gothic shamed, where grandeur is perpetually one rusted hinge away from collapse. The chronicle of our survival begins with the sudden, profound disruption of the natural order of this realm, the silence of the feathered guide. I am the chicken oracle, the keeper of the records, writing from the porch of reckoning under the gaze of Mimo, who expresses her skepticism through long, rattling sighs. We rely upon General Beauregard, the red bantam rooster known as the franchise, to dictate the rhythm of our lives. He is Gallus domesticus with the soul of a Confederate general. On the day the trouble began, the general failed to announce the dawn. The silence was heavy, like a wet wool blanket draped over the roof. This signaled the onset of the absence. The physical signs of this descent into chaos were immediately apparent. The chicken-shaped pool, our 1-acre monument to hydrological hubris, was leaking at the beak end. Bronchi the donkey stood immobile, rooted like a statue of obstinacy. Papa, the land king, was engaged in his own fiscal madness, counting stacks of bills for his Christmas bonus policy and declaring the Federal Reserve a house of cards. Papa maintained that the general was merely a biological machine for converting insects into noise, but Papa was, as usual, mistaken. The prophecy of the general required the fulfillment of 5 signs, the last of which was the decisive third grunt of Okra, the large black hog known for her vindictive memory. When I approached Okra, she managed only 2 grunts. The prophecy stalled. I realized the general had gone to the Marais Saline bottomlands, a land the French had once named for salt, but which behaved aggressively like adhesive. I descended into the swamp, carrying the catch pole like a scepter and the net like a sigil, struggling to maintain the dignity of a high priest while being physically assaulted by the vegetation. I searched for sign, eventually finding an iridescent red hackle feather, an unmistakable and deliberate marker that the franchise had proceeded toward the Wachita River. A river person, a resident known for his complete lack of interest in the Gregorian calendar, confirmed the general's route along the rough railroad tracks. He added that the feathered guide was being followed by a white dog that looked like a ghost. He warned me that the light was out tonight. Rosemarie, the headless husband-hunting ghost, was looking for her missing anatomical component. I found the general 300 yards down the tracks, small and defiant, hackles raised, facing the soft, bobbing, yellowish spectral glow of Rosemarie's lantern. The ghost dog of the Saline sat calmly behind him. The general ignored my frantic warning and engaged in tactical aerial maneuvering, striking the glowing orb with the fury of a demon. The light vanished, leaving only a rusted railroad lantern. I retrieved the franchise and tucked him inside my jacket just as a gully washer of rain began. The return to Cooter was messy. The chicken-shaped pool was overflowing. I towed down the stoic general. The prophecy, however, remained incomplete. I marched the franchise back to the pig pen, holding him up to the judgmental stare of Okra. Okra delivered the decisive third grunt. The wind shifted instantly, carrying the scent of wet hay and heartbreak, and a stripe of bruised purple sky broke open. The general crowed a declaration of war against the silence. The Southern Gothic experience receded. Bronchi moved. The hens were relieved, and the kingdom of Cooter was temporarily restored, ready to yield a massive harvest of protein the following morning. The eggs, sacred objects to me, were merely perishable inventory to Papa, who insisted they must be washed lightly so the city folk felt connected to the agrarian struggle. The rhythm was back.
The Oracle's Ascension and the Trial of the Third Light. The restored order of the farm was a merely facade covering a deeper, newly triggered chaos. The following morning, the ghost dog returned, leaving precise, elegant paw prints near the chicken-shaped pool. Memo, a woman whose powers of observation remained undiminished, realized the creature was looking not for the general, but for me, the Oracle. The spectral howl followed, confirming the onset of the return. Papa, whose grasp of reality was tethered to his ledger, immediately feared the arrival of consultants and regulatory omens. A river person arrived, having heard the ghost dog call my name, and delivered a single, white, perfectly symmetrical feather. This feather was a summons. Memo confirmed that the dead were restless and a storm was brewing, not a weather, but a something ancient that required the Oracle to be ready. The ground itself began knocking, signaling the ancestors were speaking. We witnessed Bronchi the donkey, the champion of stubbornness, enter a state of prophetic panic. He became an augur, moving once to reveal and cover a crack in the ground, delaying the collapse. The ghost dog then led me into the woods, commanding me to follow. Papa's protestations regarding rule number 3, do not follow glowing dogs into the woods, were ignored. The woods became a deeper layer of reality where time and memory warped. The ghost dog led me to the original chicken-shaped hollow, the Proto-Trace Basin, which glowed with cold green-gold light. This was the celestial blueprint where the land remembered the first step. Upon stepping into the basin, I received the message that the land knows the shape of its guides. The ghost dog then led the way to the cedar chest, revealing the original survey of the saline trace, a living record that shifted and pulsed with dark brown ink. The river people, now assembled in my living room, revealed the ancient prophecy of the lost lights, the widow's lantern, the runner's spark, and the first light, a piece of the sun. The convergence was imminent, and the Oracle must choose the path. The rails began to hum, remembering the rhythm of the train. The runner's spark, the second light, appeared as a floating lantern, offering itself to me. Upon touching it, knowledge flooded into me. I was the carrier of the lights. Immediately following, the land accepted this bond by providing the feast to the double yoker, a culinary haunting where eggs cooked themselves, offering a vision of the ancient first rooster commanding me to carry the lights. Papa, finally humbled, accepted his role as the steward, responsible for keeping the household assets ready while I pursued prophecy. This realization caused his ledger to rewrite itself, marking him with acceptance from the land. The warning continued. The hayman, a sentient figure made of sorrow-bound grass, emerged from the trace as a scout to warn that whatever was coming did not travel alone. Then came the shadow stacks, shapeless remnants of old trace walkers, followed by the true threat, the lantern carrier. He was tall, thin, hollow, and his eyes burned with pale blue fire. He claimed to be the first light and demanded the runner's spark, asserting that the trace belonged to him. The general's attack passed through the shadow figure. I was then transported to the memory layer of the proto-trace. Memo, appearing in a translucent layer of reality, guided me to the cedar chest's true contents, a burned feather that acted as a key. She revealed the terrifying truth that the lantern carrier was not the third light, but the one who stole it. The real third light was not an artifact, but the Oracle himself, awakened by the land and prepared since birth. As the lantern carrier entered the house, the light inside my chest flared. My ribs and sternum began to glow with the pure white fire of the awakened third light, driving the shadow thief backward.
The collapse and the fourth light. The third light fully awakened inside my chest, lifting my body above the floorboards and dissolving the house into the illuminated memory layer of the basin. The lantern carrier reeled, shrieking that I was never meant to become it, but the light spoke through me, a resonance that shattered the windows. The lantern carrier, furious, summoned the monstrous shadow rooster, the repressed rage and dark side of the first rooster, from beneath the earth. The light rooster, who had been integrated with me during a vision, struggled against its shadow twin. Caught between the two warring forces, the ghost dog spoke for the first time, commanding me, "Oracle, merge." The light rooster revealed that the oracle was the light that had been